I'm Rachel.
I'm Holly, and we are Team Thriving Home, and we are making prep session 17 today, and this prep session is grab and go breakfast. We're so excited to give it to you guys. It was highly requested by our freezer foodies.
Absolutely. Today we're going to make pumpkin chocolate chip muffins. Now these are actually really healthy for you. They're made with whole grains, some sneaky pumpkin in there, but everyone's going to love them. Our second recipe is our chocolate peanut butter energy bites. And these are a great little grab and go, not only breakfast, but also for snacks, especially if you have an athlete in your family. I have a cross-country runner. He eats these. He enjoys these. Our third recipe is our chocolate-covered cherry smoothie packs. I'm very passionate about this. I make this literally every single morning, and when I have these packs on the hand, it saves me so much time. Like, I'm just a happy, happy woman in the mornings. So you are going to love these three recipes, especially if you like chocolate and if you want to eat a healthy breakfast.
All right,
Ready to get started? Okay.
So before we get started, we just wanted to tell you this prep session takes every bit of an hour. That's because we're baking muffins. It'll be worth it, I promise. But because of that, it's really important that you open all your stuff, get all your utensils set out, open the canned pumpkin. It just makes things go so much more smoothly.
And be sure to pause as needed, because we'll be working quickly.
Step one, we are going to bake the muffins. They need time to bake and cool, so we do that first. The first thing you need to do is preheat your oven. I've already set mine preheating behind me, and then make sure the racks in the oven are equidistant from the top and bottom. That way they just bake evenly.
Yep. And the next thing you'll do is get your muffin pans all ready. So you can use metal, you can use silicone. We recommend using liners. I've got paper liners.
Yes. I always use silicone liners. I get so many questions about these every time we post them in a picture on our website. But I use these. They are reusable. They're super easy to clean for me. I even throw them in the dishwasher. So we'll link to these in the show notes. And I love using these for muffins like this. But for this session, because we're splitting these, we're doing paper.
Yep, and you want 2 muffin pans if you have them. If you don't, that's okay. You can do it in 2 different batches. It'll just take longer. And I made notes on that in your packet here.
One more thing. If you do use silicone liners or a silicone pan, you have to bake it a little bit longer. We included
just
that.
be a few minutes, and we included that in directions as well. So again, we're on step 1. We're getting our muffins together, but now we're on part 2. So Polly's going to put together the dry ingredients. We're going to start with 2.5 cups, and we're using white whole wheat flour. This is a great variety. We both bake with it often. And what's great about it is it's got all the nutrients of whole wheat flour, but it kind of tastes like white flour. It's got that texture to it. So that's what we recommend. We give some subs. I've actually tested this with completely gluten-free flour if you'd like to do that. So if you want to use that 1-to-1 Bob's Red Mill gluten-free flour, that works. Okay, next ingredient is we're going to use a 1/2 cup of ground flaxseed. This is adding more nutrition. You're getting some omega-3s. You're getting some fiber. And no one will ever know what's in there.
I sneak it into so much of my food. I even put it in our spaghetti sauce.
Oh, that's
Yeah, you don't even know it's there.
Yeah.
You can't taste it, but it's extra like omega-3s, which we don't eat much of in our family.
Yeah,
So.
I know. We live in mid-Missouri. We just don't have a lot of fish around here. Catfish, I don't think is doing it. Okay, next up is 1 cup of sugar. So a little healthier version that I usually use is coconut sugar. I mean, sugar is sugar, but that is going to, it's a little more all natural and a little lower on the glycemic index. So I use 1 cup of coconut sugar.
Regular sugar totally works fine. I mean, that's what I almost always make with this.
Yep. Next is 2 teaspoons of baking soda. So need some leavening.
Not to be mistaken for baking powder.
Yeah, that's right. Which is next.
Okay, so 2
So
teaspoons
2
of that.
teaspoons of baking soda.
Got it.
And then 1 teaspoon of baking powder.
Okay. These will rise.
All right, here comes the cinnamon. With pumpkin, I love to pair it with cinnamon. So 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. Pour it.
1 and 2.
And then lastly, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt.
Got it.
I have made this pumpkin recipe so many times over the years. I think I have it memorized. And what we love about it is you're tempting fate there, measuring over the bowl.
I know.
Good job.
Yeah, that's
all pro.
Yeah. Chefs are like, oh!
Okay, so she's going to whisk these dry ingredients together. As with almost any muffin recipe, you're going to do, especially if it has gluten in it, you'll do your wet ingredients separate from your dry ingredients. So we're going to move on to our wet ingredients. So I've got another mixing bowl here, and I'm going to start with my pumpkin puree. Can I borrow a spoon, please?
Yes.
Thank you. So So, just a 15-ounce can. We make it easy for you. If for some reason you make your own pumpkin puree, like my mother does, because she grows pumpkins.
It's impressive.
It is. You'll use 1.5 cups of pumpkin puree, or you can do things like you can use sweet potatoes that have been cooked and mashed down. So there's some substitutions here.
One little tip, if you ever have a recipe that doesn't use all the pumpkin, you can freeze that pumpkin puree. Put it in one of these little silicone liners, like in a 1/2 cup portion or something. I do that with tomato paste or any kind of pureed vegetable or fruit. It's really easy to do.
Can I get a 1/3 cup?
Nice.
I'm gonna put some oil in here to keep these moist. I'm using avocado oil. That's my favorite kind of cooking oil. It's less refined than vegetable oil, but you could use vegetable oil.
It doesn't have any flavor. A 1/3 cup is what he said. It also doesn't have any flavor. You can't really use olive oil in place of that because it'll just add some flavor to it. So that's why we like the avocado oil.
2/3 cup.
2/3. Okay. Gotcha. Do it twice.
Okay, and then to still add some more moisture, but not add more oil, I'm using some applesauce. I just get the unsweetened applesauce from the store. Can you get me that?
Strength in that twist.
Look at that.
I was kind of afraid it wouldn't come off on camera. Struggle with it.
That would be funny, actually. That'd be a good story. Remember the time you couldn't get the
You have to
applesauce lid off?
Pause the video and get a name.
Okay, wait. How much do I need this, Polly? Oh, a 1/2 cup.
Okay.
I'm using a 1/3.
Here, just dump it in there.
Thanks.
Improvise.
With baking, I'm used to like cooking, so you can kind of like a little of this, a little of that. But you know, guys, when you're baking, you're trying to measure.
It's got to be a little more precise.
Yeah.
All right. Going in.
Good. Going in. All right. There goes the applesauce. And then what's next? 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I kind of feel like you can't have enough vanilla. Like it's hard to overdo vanilla.
Can I show you something?
Yes, show us.
I make my own vanilla. We have a blog post on how to do this, but I just have a massive jar of vanilla in my pantry.
Also known as vanilla flavored vodka.
It is vodka. It's a lot of vodka with vanilla beans in it. But the longer it sits, the better it gets. And so you can see this has been here for a long time. I've had this in for almost a year.
Is that
So,
right?
yeah.
How long does it take to even get vanilla that you can use?
There's lots of different opinions on this.
Okay.
But minimum 6 weeks is kind of what I
Okay.
read it on. The longer the better.
So how much does vanilla beans cost? Are those like pretty expensive?
Again, depends where you get them.
Okay.
Depends on the type of bean. I don't have an answer for that.
Okay.
But I will say doing this is a lot cheaper than buying real vanilla at the store. Like you save a ton of money by making it.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure it tastes better too, right?
yes.
Okay.
I love vanilla.
I know she didn't offer that up for our recipe.
This is mine.
Okay, next up, sorry, move along. 3 eggs, 3 large eggs in here. I'm tempting Faye by cracking them over
know.
the bowl.
You're telling me I was tempting.
I know, right? You can do it in your own bowl if you want. What do we got next? I need to whisk this.
I will say, kid tip, when I have kids, they love to help crack eggs. I always have them crack it over a separate bowl before on top of the ingredients. I have made that mistake way too many times.
Yeah. Can you whisk that?
Yes.
And I'm gonna go wash my hands real quick.
Yes. So we are whisking together the wet ingredients. And then, as with most baking recipes, we will just combine them. And it's important when you combine dry with the wet that you don't overmix the batter. We'll probably talk about that.
Yeah.
Sense.
When you have gluten in it,
Right.
it gets tough.
Yeah, you don't want to I used to make that mistake a lot too, is that I would overmix the batter and then it just gets really dense.
Yep.
It
It's just tough.
yeah, thanks.
Yep, agreed.
How's stuffy? Alright, how's that looking?
Great. So we're gonna add the wet ingredients to the dry. So Polly's using a little scraper here to do that. That's usually a helpful tool to do that. After you get the wet into your dry, you're gonna begin to stir it. So stir it just until it comes together. And then the magic ingredients.
Yeah, the kids like to help with those too.
Exactly. 1 cup of chocolate
Make it in
chips,
their
right?
mouths.
1 cup.
That's
Yes,
about right.
1 cup of chocolate chips. Use whatever kind you want. If you are trying to be dairy free or avoid allergens, there's a great brand that I use all the time called Enjoy Life. It is kind of expensive, I won't lie, but they're really good and they're dairy free.
I've used dark chocolate chips before too. I like doing that. Or mini chocolate chips spread out a little bit more.
Yeah,
too.
mini chocolate chips are really good options.
I like doing those for muffins, especially if you're gonna make mini muffins.
Ready?
Good. Go ahead. Woo! There we go. And see, do you see how we didn't use like a hand mixer or the KitchenAid mixer for this? It'll come together really easily just by hand. So,
Okay, after you get that completely mixed, Guys, I tested these so many times. In fact, my kids started coming in when we'd run out of the muffins. They're like, "Hey, do you need to test these muffins again, Mom?" Huh? They were asking me just the other day about that. All right, good to go. Do you have, or you got a muffin scoop? Okay. When I tested this, I found that really, and we can use that today, but 2 heaping tablespoons worth was perfect. Okay. Because what you'll end up with is 24 exact muffins about the same size. So, do you think that's about?
Well, it's about right. Let's see.
Yeah, I think that's about right. There we go. Yeah,
right?
that's about right.
Okay.
So it's filling that cup about 3/4 of the way. Start a little shy, fill them all, and you can always add a little extra to each one. So we are going to get filling these. After you have them filled, put 1 rack at the top of your oven, 1 at the bottom, and set your timer. If you have 2 of them, set your timer for about 20 minutes, and then check on them. If you are really finicky and want to switch them around in the oven, you can do that, but honestly, I tested it top and bottom multiple times. They both got done pretty equally. If you have silicone, it's going to take just a bit longer, so don't forget about that. So let's pop those in the oven when we're done, and then let's move on to step 2. And when these get done, you'll pull them out and stick them on a cooling rack. So they got to start cooling like quickly. Right? If we want to get this done like within close to an hour, that's the hardest part, is like getting these to cool down quickly. All right, we're going to meet you back in step 2. We're going to pop these in the oven.
We're on step 2, and you are going to prep your freezer bags. Again, this helps with saving time in the long run. Do it all at once. We use packing tape, and we have these pre-filled out labels for you in your packet. Now, one thing you'll notice different, if you have done other prep sessions with us, we now have these reusable freezer bags that we are loving. So these are from Fresh Menu Planner, and we'll put a link to those in our show notes. But you'll notice those, but you can also use your Ziploc bags on that.
Yep. The other thing is, if you want to fill out, there's a place to put the date you created it and any side dishes you want to go along with it. This one, side dishes, not so much, but there you go. Fill that out before you put the food in it. And let's move on to step 3.
We're on step 3, and we are going to make the energy bites. Now, guys, full disclosure, we're having some technical difficulties because we recorded about 7 minutes of us making the batter, and then the phone went off and it didn't save. So, good thing is, this is a step that's really easy. Dry ingredients, wet ingredients combined. Okay, so we'll just talk you through real quick, but just know you'll probably have to pause to get through this step with us. So wet ingredients first. Peanut butter.
We cleaned out our measuring cups from our last step. Peanut butter. One of the tips is spray your measuring cup, and then you can get your peanut butter in and out of there really easily. So we did our peanut butter. We used an entire jar. You can use all natural, which I used. It makes it a little runnier. Or you can use Skippy. That's fine too.
And I would microwave the peanut butter just a little bit if you use Skippy like a regular kind, just to make it
too hard or something. You can microwave.
Okay, then we did maple syrup.
Pure maple syrup.
Or you can sub honey. And then we did vanilla. And we combined all that. Somewhere in the outer space that video is. Then we added in the dry ingredients. You have quick oats, not to be mistaken with the whole oats.
Yeah, like the rolled oats, the old-fashioned oats. You can use either. I've tested it with both. The quick oats are just easier to eat. They just taste better in my mind. In this particular recipe, the rolled oats were a little too chewy, a little too tough.
Then we did shredded coconut, and cocoa powder.
So the coconut, you could sub more oats if you're not into the coconut, or you could sub some flaxseed. And we did 100% cocoa powder.
Yes, and lastly we added some cinnamon. Okay, then you
combined
it all up and
stirred it all up.
Here we are.
Here's what you get. Now, we're going to go ahead and roll those out. So I'm going to have Polly do this part. In testing, so you might have to wet your hands.
I was just thinking
it really helps to wet your hands so that it doesn't stick. So you might have to do that a few times in the middle of this process. Lay your bags out like we have here and have them open. Okay? So what we're going to do, Polly, is you want about, I found it easiest to use a spoon. See that spoon over there? So like a soup spoon. You don't have to listen to me.
I know.
A soup spoon size or tablespoon size. Get that and just like get a heaping scoop. That's kind of how I got them evenly. You'll end up with, I believe, like 18 or 19 energy bites by the end of this. So she's rocking and rolling. And so you're going to place them in a single layer in your bag, and then when you go to freeze them, squeeze out all the air, seal it tight, and lay it flat in your freezer until they're completely frozen. At that point, you can turn them any which way. It doesn't matter because they're frozen solid. All right, we're going to get rolling. Go and we'll meet you back here for the last step. Oh, one thing to mention, our muffins are done. They are cooling on a cooling rack. I'm gonna pull them out and stick them on the cooling rack to just make sure they cool off as quickly as possible. So we're gonna move on to our smoothie packs, and then we're gonna finish up with packaging our muffins, and we'll be done. We are on step 4. We're gonna assemble our smoothie packs, and we're gonna go ahead and freeze those. So we're gonna start by, the way I have this written is the easiest way is you get all 10 of your little bags open and ready to go. And then you're gonna layer your ingredients. And I found just doing like one ingredient at a time and working through all 10 bags is kind of the most efficient.
Assembly line.
Like my hands are in bananas, it's gonna do 10 bags of bananas. You know, my hands are nasty in the almond butter, it goes in all 10 bags. So, but we're gonna show you one bag and how to layer it, and then we'll freeze them and we'll meet you back here for the last step. So we'll start with our bananas. So you can see here I have cut my 5 bananas in half, and I have been slicing them into slices. So we start with those at the bottom in a single layer, and we've thought this through, so you don't just like toss it in there in this big giant like glob, because it's really hard to get out on the other end if you do
They
that.
just don't blend up easy. That's the ultimate. I mean, if
Well,
you end up having a blob, just let it thaw out a little bit before you put it in the blender.
That's a good idea. Okay, next up is we included some baby spinach in this, and this like totally melts into this smoothie. By the way, this smoothie in my mind tastes like a chocolate shake. I love it so much. I mean, my husband makes fun of me, like he thinks I have a love affair with the smoothie. But the chocolate's gonna hide that spinach. So you're gonna do about a cup of spinach. I just get a nice big handful. Honestly, I throw extra in there and you can even taste it. Next up is, so you're gonna do you'll do 10 bags of the spinach after that, and then next up you've got the almond butter. So 2 tablespoons. So just get a spoon, like a soup spoon, and just do 2 scoops. And ooh, I like her tip. She sprayed her tablespoon and is gonna scoop that into the bag.
This is almond butter. Now, I will say this. I once made these with friends, and we ran out of almond butter, and I used peanut butter.
I know, the peanut butter's
not
too
good.
strong.
It's too salty. It brought too much salt to it.
Oh, if you
Yeah,
then not.
Well, I had to dig in my pantry and find what we had because we just didn't measure right.
It
And so,
definitely changes the taste.
yeah, you can't.
Profile.
Yeah, I say you cannot sub. I will firmly say you
Okay,
cannot sub
okay.
your pantry peanut butter. Maybe if you have like low salt peanut butter or
Yeah,
something.
that might work.
Yeah.
Okay, so we do 10 bags of the almond butter on top of that. Now, guys, it's been a hard morning. I'm gonna be honest. I forgot my frozen cherries at home. So I buy these big bags of frozen cherries from Walmart. They're in a lot of stores now, but not the tart cherries. Buy those dark cherries. That's what'll go in next. So you do 1 cup of those into each.
10 times putting them in
10
there.
times into your bags, okay? In fact, Polly even had some in her freezer already that I made for her when I was testing this, okay? So this has got the cherries in it. After the cherries, then you'll end with some cocoa powder.
Yep.
This is a key ingredient.
How much do you use?
I'm gonna do a tablespoon of that.
My tablespoon's gloppy, so
Just do a soup.
or you can do 3 teaspoons.
Yep.
Yeah, 3 teaspoons equals 1 tablespoon. That's like a little
Alright,
little
so
freebie
there's,
for you.
there's free, yeah. That's why we get paid the big bucks. So we're gonna finish up our packs without our cherries. We're gonna put them in later. My bad. And then we're going to stick them in our freezer bags. Okay, so you can fit 4 of those down in each freezer bag and then freeze them flat. I think it's helpful to kind of. These got a little smushed, didn't they? They did.
That's fine.
Tell me your secret when you get it out.
Yeah,
Take it
okay.
out of the bag.
So one thing, if it is kind of, I don't know, a lot of times they don't freeze perfectly flat. Bang it on the counter. It breaks up the pieces and it'll make it easier for blending. And like I said, if you let it sit out just on the counter for like a couple minutes, again, I'll soften it enough just to like help that blender get it going.
Totally. All right, so we're gonna finish up these, get them in the freezer, meet you back here for this last step, and you are gonna have delicious breakfast in the freezer.
Step 5 is already done. As you can see, the muffins were cool enough to put into their freezer bags, so they are in there and they're ready for the freezer.
And congratulations, you have completed 6 freezer meals, grab-and-go breakfast meals in about an hour. Just a little bit longer for those muffins to cool, but this was totally worth it. I'm excited to dive in.
Yes.
Hope you guys had a great time. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.